Nate Aaron, coming back to face off against Larry again after a rather humiliating defeat. How do you feel going into it this time?
Well, you know, I took my lickings and my bruising and I brushed myself off. I studied him, learned his moves, learned his haircut, or lack of.
After you decimated him the last time you guys faced off, you think there's going to be anything different this time?
If his notes are as thorough as the work he put into his outfit, I'd say it's going to be a pretty easy match.
Well, you definitely seem confident going into this. Is there one particular topic that you feel really geared up for?
I would say who should direct Star Wars Episode 9? It would have to be David Fincher.
Denis Villeneuve. He is an amazing director, and you'll see my arguments later.
How do you prepare for the speed rounds?
So I go back to our first match between me and Nate, and then I study Nate, and I see what I shouldn't do.
I'm going to win them all. I'm going to be on top of the topics, if you get what I'm saying.
Well, you heard it here. Is Nate going to take back his dignity, or is history going to repeat itself? Find out on Geek Court.
Judgment time.
You're welcome, I guess.
Members of the jury.
There.
I really don't see what all the fuss is about.
Oh my God, the Scoleri brothers!
In favor of conviction.
F you, Mr. Stark. F you, buddy.
I am the law!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Geek Court. I'm today's honorable judge and executioner, Judge Nakia. Today we're putting 3 topics on trial. Who should direct Star Wars Episode 9? What's the best natural disaster film? And should Andy Serkis be nominated for an Oscar? Today's topics will be fought and debated over by our 2 defendants, Nathan Aaron and Larry White. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good, good.
Doing
Nate,
good.
Last time you were here, you lost, right?
I did.
Did they give you any insight on how to win this time?
It did. The trick is not to lose, and you win.
Oh. You feeling confident today, Larry?
Yeah. The trick is not to do what Nate did last time.
Oh, sweet. The outcome of each case will be decided upon by a jury of their peers. The jury will decide the final verdict, but should the jury be split, my vote counts for 1/3. The defendants will be judged based on who made the best case and not personal bias. Not in this courtroom. All right. We'll start with 3 cases, each worth 1 point each. Director Colin Trevorrow. I'm never going to pronounce his name right, but it's all right. Trevorrow? Is that his name? Something like that. Has exited or been fired from Star Wars Episode 9. So, the number 1 question on everybody's lips, who should direct Star Wars Episode 9? Nate, since you lost last time, I'll let you go first. You have 30 seconds to make an opening statement.
Thank you, Judge. Now let's take a look at Star Wars, where they are right now story-wise. The Force is in a gray area. They're talking about gray Jedis. It's morally ambiguous because we have Luke Skywalker saying no more Jedis. And you have a character like Kylo Ren who doesn't know, you know, he's in love with Anakin Skywalker and he just killed his father. And there's rumors that he might be a true Jedi disguised as a Sith. But so who better?
30 seconds. I'm so sorry. This is how you lost last time. Larry White, you have 30 seconds to make an opening statement.
Denis Villeneuve is the clear choice to be the director of Star Wars Episode 9. He has an impressive resume. Recently, he's done Sicario, which has a certified fresh 94%. It's an action drama with amazing performances. Then he also has Arrival, also at 94% certified fresh, which is a sci-fi film with deep themes, very emotional, strong performances. In fact, all of his films have been certified fresh.
Both very, very compelling. Nate, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
See, all of Larry's director's films, they're not a big cast. Arrival is about 1 character. Fincher, he does ensemble movies. Star Wars is a big picture blockbuster. Look at Fincher's debut was Aliens 3. That is a giant set-piece action movie. Sicario, the action movie that Larry's talking about, it has no fighting. There's guns, but where's the swashbuckling lightsaber fights that you want to see in a Star Wars movie? And Arrival, the aliens are horrendous. Now let's talk about. They look like spider monsters. This director is infatuated with spiders. In his movie Assassins, in his movie, he has a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, and they have spiders. He just put spiders in the movie. It's an adaptation from a book, and he put spiders in it for no reason. David Fincher, when he does an adaptation, he makes the adaptation better.
Larry, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
Funny that he mentions Alien 3. That's the worst way to close a trilogy. How do you go from Ridley Scott to James?
I'm very disappointed.
James Cameron, sorry. You go from that to Aliens 3. He did to Aliens, the franchise, what Jonathan Mostow did for Terminator 3. He turned it into a B-horror franchise when it could have been an amazing trilogy. You don't want to repeat the mistakes of what has happened. Star Wars cannot afford going down that path after the prequels. Again, Denis Villeneuve has all certified fresh films, whereas David Fincher is hit and miss. Not only that, another thing you don't want to repeat is the fact that Denis Villeneuve, he's arrogant. He has a terrible temper. He's walked out of production. He works great on his own films, but when it comes to big franchises,
we're going to have to leave it at that. Nathan, you have a 30-second closing argument.
Here's a quote from Denis Villeneuve. To be honest with you, it's not in the book, it's not in the novel, and I'm not sure if if Samargo would be happy with it. This is from the movie Enemy with that I was talking about with spiders that he just shoehorned in. When Fincher adapts a book like Fight Club, he makes it better. Fincher, he worked on Star Wars. He worked on Return of the Jedi. He did the special effects for that. So he already has that. He knows the tone because he's been there. See, that's one thing that you left out, that my guy, he's already worked in Star Wars.
Larry,
all right,
30 seconds.
so we've seen how David Fincher continues a franchise with Aliens 3. Now, Denis Villeneuve, guess what? He's doing right now what's coming out, Blade Runner 2049. That's one of the most anticipated films that are coming out.
It's a trailer. If it was who would make the best trailer, then that would be the whole court.
Let me ask you this: Did you see
the best Star Wars movie? Not Star Wars trailer.
Sustained.
Have you seen the trailer for Aliens 3?
Mr. White,
all the marketing.
Mr. White,
Mr.
White, I'm going to need you to I stop the clock for you. I'm going to need you to get back on topic.
Oh, that's part of my point. The fact that the Aliens 3 trailer couldn't polish that turd. That was a piece of crap. All right.
The Aliens 3 trailer.
Yeah.
Turd.
I need you not to talk over Mr. White's time.
Hey, if he wants to talk to me during his time, that's his choice.
Mr. White, you have about 6 seconds. Do you need them?
He lost it.
Star Wars can't afford losing another director after 3 directors that are fired, and David Fincher is the way to repeat that mistake.
All right, that's going to be time. I like that you guys seemed very passionate about this. Nate just kind of stumbled a little bit in the beginning. But I like that you said that Fincher can handle a big cast, and he did work on Star Wars before. Larry, I like that you brought up your guys' track record, and I thought that was very interesting. Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have.
Well, are there any facts to check?
Yes. Most of, if not all, because I couldn't check them all, of Denis Villeneuve movies are not rotten. They're certified fresh.
Certified fresh.
Yes.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have.
What is it?
We're pretty unanimous. Both made good points, but Aliens 3 is not a strong selling point for Nate's director. I agree he's got better ensemble, but Larry's director just has more going for him for what we want in Star Wars.
All right. That means that Larry, you now have 1 point. Nate, you got to catch up in this next case. In honor of Hurricane Irma, God help us all. We want to know, what's the best natural disaster film? Nate, since you went first last time, Larry, you can go first with your 30-second opening statement.
All right, my pick is Gravity. That movie was amazing. Everything about it was great. The performances, the special effects were impressive. As someone who does special effects, I didn't know how they did a lot of the things they did, and even seeing the behind-the-scenes footage, it still impresses me. It's a thrilling sci-fi film. You feel the sense of time running out. Oh, 30 seconds.
Sense of time running out? Is that what you felt?
Yeah.
'Cause that's what happened.
I felt that too.
Nate, you have a 30-second opening statement?
When I want to watch a disaster movie, I want to feel something that's relatable that might happen to me. I don't spend a lot of time in space and the abyss of darkness, but as you know, a hurricane's about to hit us. So a film called Twister scares me because that could happen to me. And you know what? It's so relatable that when Twister came out, after it came out, the meteorology field after 1996 actually had a boom, 10% every year of graduates for that field.
Mr. White, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
Gravity has a 96% certified fresh, 80% from audiences. Twister, 57% from critics, and 58% from audiences. Nobody there, whether it be critics or audiences, nobody loved that movie. That's because the movie has cheesy acting. It has unnecessary danger. They're going to the Twister, and the Twister isn't even that much of a threat. Even as big as it is, there's still the fact it's like the danger is undercut by all you need is a fucking like belt. Take that off your waist, tie it to a pipe, and you're good. The movie's a waste of time. And not only that, the ride that it has based on was topped by Jimmy Fallon. That just goes to show how crappy that movie and property is. I rest my case.
We took a weird turn there, but Nate, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
So in a lot of disaster films, there's this moment where they're like, oh, dear God, and they take off the glasses. Twister did that grounded. They made it good. When they're talking, they're drinking their coffee, and they're like, what's an F5? And then an F5. Larry has never experienced an F5. It's not as easy as just strapping on a little belt. I would rather die in space than be in an F5, getting thrown on the pavement, on the dirt, getting your face torn apart on asphalt. I'd rather just die instantly in space. That is a quicker, better death than dealing with an F5, the finger of God. Neil deGrasse Tyson hated his movie. On Twitter, all he did was fact check all of the things that they got wrong. And we're not arguing about which movie has the better special effects. We're not arguing which one has the highest Rotten Tomato score, which one's a better disaster movie. And disaster, I feel, is like a tornado. We're talking Mother Earth. Those are disasters that I'm afraid of, because that's a disaster that's about to happen to us.
From beginning to end, Gravity is non-stop disaster. It's just constantly building, getting worse for her. And like the closer she gets to getting home, the harder it is and the more chaos there is. At the end of the movie, you feel like she deserved that heroic moment when she finally lands on Earth. You're like, yeah, like you did it. Twister wastes way too much time on Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt's unbelievable romance. All right, I rest my case.
That was you kind of jumped the gun there before I called for you. I'm fine with that.
You're welcome.
Mr. Aaron, you have a 30-second final rebuttal, closing argument?
Look, man, if he's going to shit on Bill Paxton, I don't know if I could stand for that. You know what Storm Chasers did? They took their equipment, and on radar, they spelt out BP for his death. They paid tribute, because that's how much this movie affected the environment, the disaster culture. Storm Chasers, this is like their Bible Twister. If he wants to shit on Bill Paxton, that's his choice. But I'm not going to stand here for it. I'm going to walk out of this court. Not Bill Paxton, my friend. Not Bill Paxton. Game over, man. Game over.
I think you both made some compelling arguments. Larry, however, this was not about Rotten Tomato scores, and I personally don't consider Gravity a natural disaster film. It was like two people in space. So I feel like Nate, kept it
I mean,
real.
for the record, he didn't say that.
I'm just talking about what I
did
said.
say that. It's not about Rotten Tomatoes.
Excuse me. I'm with you,
Judge. I'm
just saying that I think Nate gave a more realistic and better argument. Gladys, my lovely Blave, do you have anything? Please.
Yes.
I do have links if you need links for some of the facts.
We do not need links.
No. So, for Twister, Neil deGrasse Tyson did try to poke holes in Gravity, but he did enjoy the movie. He liked it. Twister is rotten, and Gravity is not at 96. The ride Twister, however, was up for 17 years. It first started in 98, and then it was turned to the Jimmy Fallon in 2015. With that said, the jury has also decided in a unanimous vote for Nate.
We also agree with the judge that we don't really consider Gravity a natural disaster movie.
Can we keep her as a bailiff forever? All right. Oh, the score is 1-1, which brings us to our third case. 20th Century Fox is rumored to be pursuing a big Oscar push for Andy Serkis to be nominated for Best Actor. This brings up the divided issue of whether a CGI motion capture character constitutes as a performance. So we're asking, should Andy Serkis be nominated for an Oscar? Nathan Aaron, you will go first with your 30-second opening statement.
Can I ask you a question? Is this the movie War of the Planet, his latest? This is regarding his latest film, correct?
I'm assuming yes.
Okay.
Of course it is.
Okay. The War of the Planet of the Apes starts off with Andy Serkis, with Caesar walking, seeing the dead apes, seeing the corpses, and he walks up to the captive soldiers, and the expression in his eyes, the weight, because you can tell through his acting, through the motion capture, you can tell through his face that he feels responsible for the death that he just walked by. And the weight in his eyes, the whole movie. This is just the beginning. This is the beginning of the movie.
And that was the beginning of your statement? Mr. White, you have a 30-second opening statement.
It's simply not fair for actors to have Andy Serkis nominated as an actor. Part of what makes you an actor is to lose yourself in the role. And unfortunately, it's unfair when he's completely lost in the role because he's completely covered by CG and animators that are helping. It's not just him, it's him and animators. Any little flaw that could be in his performance could be fixed by an animator. If anything, he should get maybe...
Nathan Aaron, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
There are, frame by frame, you can compare on YouTube moments where Andy Serkis is performing with the actual Caesar performance, and it is identical. So to say that it's not fair that discredits this visual effects industry. And as you know, Life of Pi, the visual effects studio that made that film, they're out of business because of people like Larry, because of people like this person over here who's discrediting the hard work of these animators, and not just the animators, but the motion capture that was involved with Andy Serkis' brilliant performance. To continue with his brilliant performance, the moment when Caesar decides not to kill the colonel, you can tell through that motion capture the exact moment. You see the rage building up, but you also can see in his face. We're talking about motion capture here. The technology has gotten better, so every microscopic detail of his micro expressions.
Mr. White, you have a 1-minute rebuttal. Now, let's set aside the fact that it's not fair for actors or the animators that helped his performance. There's also the fact that, let me give you one quick example. Johnny Depp, he's been nominated for Jack Sparrow in the first Pirates movie. But why hasn't he been nominated in the following movies? Is because they don't care for someone. They don't care for you after you've already been doing the same part over and over and over. He's playing the exact person that he played in the first movie, and unfortunately, Andy Serkis is doing the same thing that he's done in the previous movies. If there was a time that he was to get nominated, it would have been the first time. And his performance is debatable. It's a really great performance, but as far as Oscar nomination wise, all he really does is just some grunting, and he's angry. I believe it.
there's nothing wrong with it, but it's at the same time it's nothing outstanding. What makes you drawn to it is the fact that you're seeing a monkey, like a 3D animated ape, showing that emotion. But as far as like his performance, it's not really an Oscar-worthy performance. I hate to say it, and I'll close my statement there.
Mr. White, you have a 30-second. Oh, Mr. Aaron, you have a 30-second closing argument.
So I've provided you with examples of where Andy Serkis's micro expressions, you can see the acting. He's saying that it's just a bunch of grunts, but he doesn't really give you examples there. Leo DiCaprio, he was long overdue for an Oscar, and I agree with Larry that Andy Serkis deserved an Oscar previously. A lot of his performance before.
I'm going to need the jury to whisper a little quieter. Sorry. Thank you.
Sorry, Judge.
You may continue.
A lot of Andy Serkis' performances before deserved Oscars, but like Leo DiCaprio, he's long overdue. To discredit this man's work, his life work, he has elevated the industry, he's elevated motion capture, and that deserves an Oscar. Like how James Cameron has advanced technology.
I like where you were about to go with that. Mr. White, 30 seconds.
Nate's right. Andy Serkis has done a lot for the motion capture performance industry. That is why maybe at best he deserves an honorary Oscar, or maybe they can make a new category for Oscars for motion capture performances, because that's becoming more common nowadays. But as far as to compete side by side with real like actors that are on screen that you can actually see them, it's just it's a service to the actors and to the animators that helps performance.
Ooh, this is going to be tough. I do not envy the jury. I think you guys are both passionate. I do like how Larry brought up the fact that, you know, he is covered up under a lot of CGI, but Nate rebutted that with the fact that you can't see it side by side. So I do not envy you guys. Gladys, Mrs. Bailiff, do you got any facts?
The only fact checking that we had is that there is a YouTube where you can compare side by side Andy Serkis and the end performance. That's pretty much it. And also that the movie is not rotten, it's very certified fresh, so his performance is very good in that movie. And there is an online dilemma about that if he deserves an Oscar or not for that, and in the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings movies.
What do you guys got?
Right now,
we are unanimous again.
Unanimous,
yes. Whereas we feel that we understand the points that Larry was making. We do feel that the idea that it's not fair or that his performance should be invalidated because of it doesn't negate doesn't actually work against the performance itself. So we're giving this one to Nate.
Wow. Oh. All right. That means we're heading into the speedster round. Score Nate 2, Larry 1. Moving into the speedster round, each case is also worth 1 point. You guys will blindly defend these 3 cases. The stance on each case will be randomly drawn from the sorting hat.
It's anyone's game now.
All right, here we go.
Uh-oh.
Indiana Jones screenwriter David Coeb just said that Shia LaBeouf's character Mutt Williams will not be in Indiana Jones. So, should Mutt Williams be in Indiana Jones 5 or not? We will start with Mr. White.
I got yes, and the thing is, it's unfair to the character to lose him from the story. We don't want to see another Sean Connery moment where you see a picture and it's like, oh, what happened to him? The character can grow up. He can be Chris Pratt. He doesn't have to be Shia LaBeouf. That's a great way to pass on the torch.
That's right. In this round, you only have 20 seconds. Mr. Aaron, you have 20 seconds to make your opening statement.
Writers introduce a new character when they feel that the script might be getting a little... When they're not confident in their script. The Simpsons made fun of this with Poochie. And this is an obvious ploy that they just introduced Indiana Jones having a son because they wanted to reinvigorate the franchise, and it wasn't necessary. We're talking Indiana Jones.
Mr. White, you have 10 seconds to make a final rebuttal.
My personal favorite Indiana Jones is Indiana Jones 3, and part of it is seeing the father-son dynamic between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery. And This can return to that without
those last words. Mr. Aaron, are you ready for your 10-second final rebuttal?
Hold on, I'm getting ready.
I'm just going to start the clock until you speak.
Is that what you want? A watered down, cheap imitation of Sean Connery and Harrison Ford? Harrison Ford can carry an Indiana Jones movie on his own. He doesn't need a young, whippy sidekick son to...
Ooh, I had notes. I threw them all out when Nathan brought up, do I want a repeat of, tarnishing the Sean Connery name? What does the jury come to?
We are actually split.
Oh, no.
My point is to Larry because I really think that introducing a new actor would be good, and I want to see more of this character, even though it's not Shia LaBeouf, but whatever. And I like the father-son collaboration there.
I think Nate makes a strong point against repeating the same thing over and over again, especially if this might be Indy's last foray. I think that he's right. He can't carry the movie on his own.
But a son you could pass the torch to. Could.
Larry didn't make that point, though.
I did
Larry,
say pass the torch.
This is tough. Can't go on personal bias, but I've already seen the two of these guys together in the film. I don't need to see him again, so I thought Nate made a better argument against that. Even though you both had some really good points, I'm going to give this point to Nate. Which brings the score 3-1.
I argued for Shia LaBeouf. Come on.
All right, next case. This summer was filled with a lot of lackluster endings. So what is the worst movie ending of the summer? Nate, you will be going first with your 20-second opening statement. What movie did you get?
Worst movie ending? The worst movie ending of the summer.
Yes.
The worst movie ending has to be Tom Cruise becoming a mummy without really being a mummy, because the whole movie is about she was buried alive and then she was murdered alive and now Tom Cruise is alive, and it's bananas.
Mr. White, you have a 20-second opening statement.
I got Alien Covenant. The fact that he can recall it so well just goes to show, it's not that bad. I'm actually having a hard time recalling Alien Covenant. It ends, I remember, with the predictable twist of the android being bad, and all right.
Mr. Aaron, you have a 10-second final rebuttal.
The end.
The Mummy tries to make the Universal monsters the Avengers, and it does so by just having Tom Cruise walk around with clothes wrapped around him.
Mr. White.
So yeah, at the end, you find out that the android is not the good android, but the bad android, which you figured out so long ago, and they kept building it, and wait till the very end to reveal it, which...
I have no notes. Both of these movies sound terrible. I haven't seen either of them.
Yeah, I think that the Nate makes a good point towards the nonsensical aspect of the Mummy. Covenant might have been all over the place, but it tried to make something happen. Mummy was just nonsense.
It's hard to really gauge the ending that he didn't really remember.
Right.
So
the worst ending of the summer should be something you can't remember, because I can remember how bad the Mummy was.
If I didn't
but
give
the
an answer,
worst is going to be something I don't even want to remember.
So if I just
hear
said,
what
if I
you
pled the
say,
fifth,
but it's in my lap, and I'm just going to give this one to Nate, because it's not about what the worst movie. It's about, can you defend your movie? And I feel like Larry did not defend anything. Which brings us to our last speedster round.
We don't even have to do it because I won.
It's true. I mean,
that's how bad I beat you. That we don't even have to do this round.
Let's not gloat.
Oh,
but
we don't
have to carry this on any further. I'm gonna end this now.
We can do it. You want to? Let's run it.
Let's do it. Why not? Why not? We got some time. Let's do it.
He's a nice guy. I don't want him to go home empty-handed. Maybe he might get a point.
He might get a point.
Give him a little mug that said, "I got a point."
No berating the other defender.
No, Your Honor. My apologies.
All right. this will be the last day anyone will ride the Dragon Challenge, the Dueling Dragons ride, at Islands of Adventure. So pitch me the best theme park ride based on a movie. I guess I'm going to have Mr. White go first. Build his hopes up one last time. Let's go. You have 20 seconds.
I have 50 Shades of Grey, Into Darkness. Talk about thrills. Talk about the excitement that you get, the adrenaline you're going to get, the blood pumping. I have to say, that's clearly the ride that we deserve in this day and age. Where are the theme park rides for adults?
In my courtroom right now? Mr. Aaron, please.
Okay. The ride starts off. The seat is a police torso. You're riding a police torso, and you're going up a hill. There's police lights going off, and you hear this voice, and the voice says, "I see a lot of lawbreakers here tonight." And then the law says, "You can't look, but you could." And then the ride takes off, and the pants rip off, and then they're just with the G-string.
Mr. White, you have a 10-second closing rebuttal.
That may be a great ride for one gender of the sex, but our ride is for both. Strap them both down, whip them. You got an amazing, thrilling ride for men and women.
Mr. Harris, you have a 10-second closing statement, final rebuttal.
Look, I didn't come up with this, right? I actually stole this idea from Larry's notes. This is his fantasy. This is actually what he wants. And so I'm just, I'm not really, you do what you do with your life.
So he's not even committing to it.
I don't want to ride either of these rides. Bailiff, I know that there's no fact checking.
Absolutely no fact checking. Go ahead.
Where's the jury at?
I think Larry kind of lost. I think Nate kind of lost at the end when he no longer defended his point anymore. So we're gonna give it to the exciting strap-on ride that is 50 Shades of Grey.
I'm terrified of all of this. The jury is unanimous. I too will be unanimous, which brings today's final score to 4-2 in favor of Nate. He finally beat you. You guys should come back and do the tiebreaker. That concludes today's proceedings. I'd like to thank our two defendants, Nathan and Larry. Any parting words, Nate?
Victory is usually very sweet, but, I don't want to win it like this. It was like taking candy from a baby, and candy is still sweet when it's from a baby.
Even sweeter.
It's still sweet. It's very sweet.
Mr. White, any parting words?
I'm glad he feels so proud of his tie, since now it's 1-1 between us. I guess we'll have to see what happens on our third match in the future.
Is this a challenge? Are you challenging the winner of tonight's match?
Sounds like it to me. I'd also like to thank our jury for fulfilling their civic duties. How are you guys feeling today?
Good.
Pretty good.
Good.
Ended on a weird note, though.
It's been fun. I also like to thank Full Moon Creative for letting us shoot here. Make sure to share, subscribe, and leave a comment with who you think argued the best. I'm today's Geek Court, Judge Nakia. Thank you for joining us. Court is adjourned.
Nate, congratulations. Came back from an L to get the W. How you feeling today?
Feeling great. I mean, Larry had me with that first case. I forgot Enemies, name of the movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. And, he put up a good fight, but he lost. Not that good of a fight.
I mean, shit happens. I got Andy Serkis. I feel like I'm on the losing side of the argument because a lot of people simply like him and what he's done. And then getting Mutt Williams, nobody likes that character.
I agree. You almost pulled off the impossible there. So there was a challenge at the end for a final rematch between you and Nate to really call the winner.
He's bragging about having tied with me. All right, we'll see how it goes in round 3.
Well, you heard it here, guys. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Watch them finally figure out who's the top dog on Geek Court.